What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Tonight we are talking about blue ISO, tier 2 ISO, everything covering them, helping you figure out how to accumulate them, what classes are the best to focus on, who you should be putting your blue ISOs on. We're going to cover all that in tonight's video. If you guys do find this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. But let's start with the basics of tier 2, of your tier 2 ions, or your tier 2 ISO, your blue ISO, so many different names you guys can call them. But in order to get blue ISO, there's two different ways you can do it. Number one, you can buy the offers, which 100% do not recommend. Or number two, you do the Doom raid. And if you do the Doom raid, you end up getting this currency. If you go and take a look at your different currencies, you're gonna notice right here in the top right corner, tier 2 ISO 8 credits, and those will come from the Doom raid. Now, if you do get those, you will be able to buy several different tier 2 ions of your choice. And those will fall into several categories: your blaster, brawler, controller, protector, and support. Just like how you have your different crystals for your 5 different classes of characters in Marvel Strike Force, you will now be able to specifically farm certain ISO 8 fragments or crystals for your certain classes. So in terms of that, there's no real one that you should be prioritizing over the others. What you do need to be prioritizing is what kind of class you want to go for. And those classes, some of them are good, some of them just have effects that just, you look at them, you kind of wonder what was the point of these effects. And we'll talk about all of those. But if you go and take a look at one of these class orbs, you take a look at the T2 Protector ISO 8 orb, for example, in the center, you're guaranteed to get 2 of one of the tier 1 crystals in for the blue ISO. And if you look on the right, you will get tier 2 level 1 ions, 15,000 of them. And on the left, you will get a random crystal for any of the other classes at the same time. Not bad. So you will be able to focus farm on one class if you want to. You also get bonuses for other classes along the way. You will be able to get tier 2 ions as well to help level up the crystals. And if you go and look at that, you go in here and you take a look at these I've got File of Val here. It's going to be the same conversion rates as you had before: 1, 3, 9, 27, 81. So you'll still be able to do the level 5 crystals, supposedly. We don't know yet. We have only gone up to level 3 yet, but also you see you have these other currencies up here. When you go to upgrade your matrix beyond level 3 of tier 2, or 2.3, let's call it 2.3. If you go beyond 2.3, you start to end up requiring these currencies up here, and there is no way to get those currently. You cannot get those in the game. That's probably sealed off for something else in the future. We'll see what happens there, but right now the max we can hit is 2.3 on the ISO. So that's as far as you're gonna be able to go. You also see that you can see the upgrade cost down here: 150,000 ions to go from 2.2 to 2.3. That's gonna be significant along the way with your opening the orbs from the Doom raid. You will accumulate those tier 2 ions. It's hard to say if it's going to be enough or is it going to be some kind of grind. It feels like we have enough to go up to 2.3 for a class, but we'll have to see. It's going to be hard to tell right now. It's too early to tell if the ions they give us is enough for what we're going for here. Hopefully it is. Now, you notice that as you go through these classes, you actually get some new benefits through them. And we'll talk about that next, and which classes are the best ones to go for. Right now, Striker looks like the best class to focus on right now because of this max health damage you get with this attack. On primary hit, if the target has vulnerable with 2 or more stacks of vulnerable, deal 5% of this character's max health to their primary target. That's the effect you get at 2.3. Get a little bit more damage at 2.1 and some more at max health at 2.2. But that max health damage is going to be interesting in that it kind of focuses on max health or building up the health of your characters, which is a little more interesting for this. It's kind of spraying things out. Before, you wanted to go for damage, but now if you're going to be having characters that have very high health pools, this may be something to consider. And this is one that I think is going to be pretty cool. Now, Striker will require the 2+ stacks of vulnerable to go off this, but thankfully Skirmisher has gotten a little bit of a boost as well. We already know how the tier 1 Skirmisher works. Tier 2.1, we get plus 10% damage on assist, max health at 2.2, and at 2.3 on primary hits or assists, you get 2 stacks of vulnerable. So now you can use this where someone assists and applies 2 stacks of vulnerable, and now you can sub a Striker, do the max health damage. It's a big deal. So Striker and Skirmisher are going to build off each other, And we're going to talk about that here in a moment and what classes or what characters will work great with this, including a new meta we have coming into the game. But Skirmisher and Striker both look great. Raider is very disappointing at level 2 or tier 2. Get a little bit more crit chance and crit damage and some max health at 2.1 and 2.2. Then you have this RNG ability. On active ability hit, 20% chance to attack the target for 30% piercing. And as we got to 2.5, you're able to apply vulnerable and you get some more damage and you get another 20%. So now at 2.5 is a 40% chance to attack for 60% piercing. Right now at 2.3, this really doesn't seem like it's going to be a worthwhile one. It's all down to the roll of the dice, and at only 20% chance to hit, this seems like you could be doing better things with investing your blue crystals into other classes or other matrices instead of Raider. I couldn't really go for that. Healer is going to be one where this is going to be very interesting. Active healing and max health at 2.1 and 2.2. But then at 2.3, that minor regeneration turns into regeneration. And then on primary hit, if the target is vulnerable, clear 1 bleed or minor bleed from your most injured ally. This is going to be a little more, it kind of rewards your healers for being aggressive, it seems. But also, you know, giving them the ability to clear negative effects, like clear 1 bleed or minor bleed from your most injured ally. That looks pretty good on paper. We'll see how that works out in the long run. That turning into actual generation instead of minor regeneration could apply some stuff as well. I know Cole Obsidian off the top of my head, he gets bonus resistance if he has a regular regeneration on him. So that's one instance where there's regeneration synergy there. And then as you go up to 2.5, which we can't get, you're healing a little bit more. You're also getting bonus max health, armor, focus, resistance, and damage at 2.4 and 2.5. But we're not worried about that. And finally, Fortifier. Fortifier, right now, it's one of those that just doesn't really seem like it's that good. We'll have to see at 2.3 if this minor defense up is good. Right now, defense up reduces your damage taken by 50%. I'm wondering if the minor defense up reduces your damage taken by, say, 25%. So if you have someone with a pre-taunt like Drax, and you put Fortifier on him and he gets defense up at the same time, that seems pretty good. Conversely, we also have Red Guardian. He has a pre-taunt, but he also has a defense up on his own at the start. So you don't really get the benefit of this minor defense up from him. You're better off putting things like Healer on him or something else. So it's going to be one of those things where maybe some protectors would be good to have, especially if they're constantly taunting. Fortifier seems like it would be a good one to have. But right now, it's still hard to say. Until we can see what minor defense up does exactly, I can't really recommend going for Fortifier. So those are your classes. Striker, Skirmisher, by far the best two. Healer is very good as well. Raider is pretty much a roll of the dice, and Fortifier just really doesn't feel like it has much use. I would really pass on leveling up Fortifier and Raider classes up to level 2 on your ISO. I would rather go for other ones over that. I'd rather go for Striker and Skirmisher. And we were talking about that earlier, Striker and Skirmisher, and that whole setup. And you can notice right now at the top of my roster, I've got a lot of Infinity Watch. And you can see I've got Striker on 3 of them, and I've got Skirmisher on Nebula. And the reason for this, and this is what we're going to talk about now, with who to prioritize and what classes to go for, Infinity Watch is set to be the new meta. And with that, they're pretty much going to be what you want to focus on right now for your ISO. If you're going to be getting Infinity Watch, you probably should go ahead and start investing your ISO in them now. Make sure they're up to a good point, because there's probably going to be quite a few people in your arena shard with Infinity Watch. You're going to need to compete. Giving that blue ISO is going to really help you out there. Now, the reason I'm running 3 Strikers and 1 Skirmishers right now is because of the kit from Nebula. And once you have that full Infinity Watch team, she's going to be constantly assisting. And once you get her always assisting, you get this triple tap with your Strikers and Skirmishers. The Striker attacks, Skirmisher assists, applies vulnerable, and then the Striker will attack again with the ISO bonus attack because of the vulnerables landed from the Skirmisher. And this is going to be the big power with Striker and Skirmisher level 2. Striker, they attack. Skirmisher does the 2 stacks of vulnerable if you have them leveled up to 2.3. And then if you have your Striker leveled up to 2.3 at the same time, they attack and do that max health damage as well. And this is going to be a big thing, especially with some of these characters. Adam Warlock is set to have the highest health stat in the game at 600,000 when he's fully maxed out. I believe Moondragon also is going to have a high health stat too. If you have characters like this, they're going to be constantly doing the bonus ISO attack. 600,000 or 600,000 health on Adam, for example, that bonus ISO attack is going to do another 30,000 damage. And if he has high damage stats as well, which I believe most of these characters do, that bonus ISO damage is going to really stack up pretty fast. So you have max health damage with Nebula and her assists already. You have max health damage with the tier 2 Striker and the tier 2 Skirmisher going off all the time. That's the kind of synergy you love to see, and that's where the Striker Skirmisher combo, I really like that over everything else. But if you don't have Infinity Watch, you're not going to be able to get them. Start working on your other arena meta characters. Black Order at this point, they're kind of phased out. Silver Surfer, Kestrel, I've seen Emma a bit, Zemo, Mr. Sinister not so much, but I mean most of the time your arena meta is going to be something like Doom, Surfer, Kestrel, throw in a couple other characters, and you have your arena meta there. If you're not going to be able to get Infinity Watch, that's who I absolutely recommend you start investing your tier 2 crystals and tier 2 ions into, because you want to make sure that your arena team is going to be the most powerful team that you have on hand, because you need those power cores. That's the simple rule for pretty much any time you're investing into Marvel Strike Force. You always want to make sure that your best team is your arena team, because that gives you the biggest return. Those power cores are a premium currency. You absolutely need them. And yeah, so you definitely need to go for the arena team over everything else. After that, start looking at your Alliance War teams, your offense teams, your defensive teams. Right now for defense, Heroes for Hire is one of the best defense teams we have in the game. For Alliance War, Shadowland is a fantastic offensive team. X Factor as well. Infinity Watch, again, is going to be a absolute meta team, so they'll be killing on offense and defense. So double dipping there, you have your arena team that's going to be geared up with blue ISO. Now you have a killer Alliance War team as well for offense or defense. But you do want to make sure that your best teams are going to get the most return with those blue ISO, and also at the same time raid teams. Whoever you're using in raids may want to invest in some blue ISOs for them, but that, I would say that's about a third priority right now. Raid teams don't really need those blue ions. You have to invest tier 1 ions to get the Doom raid. You don't need tier 2 ions. Hopefully, tier 2 ISO. We'll see. We'll see if Scopely doesn't screw that up in the future. But yeah, right now your priorities: 100% arena. Go for Alliance War teams, then some raid teams. Kind of fill it out there, but always make sure your arena teams are at the top of their game and that you have your best ISO on them. So we've covered your class priorities, what classes are the best, how to farm them. I think that's gonna pretty much cover it for this video. There's nothing else I really have to add at this point. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully they hopefully these the tier 2 ion or the tier 2 ISO 8's not gonna be a huge gate. It's hard to say. It's too early to say right now if the ions we're getting from the Doom raid rewards are going to be enough with these brawler and controller ISO 8 orbs. We'll see if that's going to be enough. Hopefully it is. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of the tier 2 ISO so far? Are you guys finding a little bit more manageable than tier 1? Do you guys think we're getting enough out of these orbs and everything? Let me know down below. But as always, make sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.